ARM is a big one. That's looking increasingly promising.
Yeah.
You know, it's still from our vantage point, where our focus would be ARM in the server marketplace. So we're really not looking to be handheld, embedded device type of play. We're more focused on the server. So ARM is looking increasingly promising in the server context. We've spun up an effort with in Fedora, where we've got a port of Fedora 17 already available, and that really shows. And we have a pretty sizable team on it who are working on ARM, and we've got people working not just on the basic port. We've got guys doing OpenJDK, and we have people. We're doing like, when we're trying to build for thousands of packages, there's like a ton of miscellaneous little fixes, just whether it's the build procedures and whatnot. So we're doing a lot of that cleanup type of, housekeeping just to get ARM in good shape. The other thing for ARM is, and the really big thing is, I'd call it device discovery. Like in the x86 world, primarily because Intel was driving it, there was a more common motherboard. So it was easy to have like one size fits all. You have one kernel, it boots on most systems. Historically, ARM has not been that standardized. It's been more, there's been a lot more customs and flexibilities in terms of the hardware providers, so that historically it's not been possible to have one kernel that works on all of these ARM server variants. And so that's one of the main things that we're focusing on with the community, specifically including Linaro, to be able to get it to be able to have a common kernel that boots across these machines, because that's required in order to get true enterprise standardization. Because if we had to do a different kernel for 4 different chipsets, that would just blow out the matrix of the test matrix. But not just that, but it would blow out the ISV matrix. Say I'm IBM software or just different vendors, they would have to retest and recertify on 4 different boxes, and that just doesn't fly. So it's really trying to get that level of server standardization in the ARM marketplace.
Good. And I know you mentioned the Fedora effort on there, and I know, of course, Fedora, technically, as they always remind me, is a separate project, its own separate governance. But what sort of influence and resources, from your team are you putting into Fedora just specifically for ARM? Because when I think of ARM, these big Calzada machines, Redstone, Moonstone, whatever HP's calling it, that's not a hobbyist kind of project. That's definitely enterprise level. So what kind of resources are you putting into Fedora for that from your team?
People or hardware, or like what?
All of the above. I would assume most of the hardware is coming from Calzada, HP, and those types.
Yeah, of course we're not a hardware company, but we're working very closely with a wide diversity of players in the space, and that's we can't disclose the specific names on it, but it's the usual, it's the same people you hear about in all the ARM contexts, and so we're working the relationships with them. We're working on getting them Fedora to make sure it works on the major boards they want. We're making sure that they have Fedora able to be deployed in their for example, like HP's Discovery Labs and things like that, to be able to have it available for early access. We've got people internally there's a number of QA people who are dedicated to it. We've got a number of kernel developers, OpenJDK focus, and a lot of what we do at RHEL, it's almost a cast of thousands. It's like, okay, if the bind package breaks in the ARM build, we pull in the same guy who does the x86 builds and fixes for bind. So it's, in that sense, it's hard to do like a head count accounting, you know what I mean? Because it's bits and pieces of dozens of people who are involved in it. But it's real. It's not a joke. It's a real serious effort that we have on our part to make sure that Fedora is well prepared for ARM. And it's not just that it's prepared for ARM as it as it exists today, but that we can help influence and shape the hardware vendors for that server standardization so that we can be able to support it with one product, not with 5 different products.